since I first started making videos on YouTube, people always ask me the same old question. Oh Poindexta, why are you so great? Well, dear viewers, the reason why I'm such an awesome person, both inside and out, is because I'm British, which automatically makes me more intelligent, more sophisticated, and more important than anyone else in the entire planet. Yes, not only are we Brits pretty amazing, we also know how to make amazing things and show them off to the rest of the world. And our fourth greatest contribution to civilization, coming close behind Earl Grey tea, Tom Hardy and imperialism, is Doctor Who, the best sci-fi franchise of the last century that's not Star Trek or Star Wars or these other things. And what could possibly be better than 50 odd years of Saturday night adventures in space and time? How about a whole bunch of spin-offs focusing on the best characters who aren't the Doctor? Like Torchwood with Jack Harkness, and the Sarah Jane Adventures with Sarah Jane Smith. And now the online exclusive Class, with a whole bunch of characters I've never seen before and therefore have no reason to give a shit about, but it's set in Coal Hill School, so it still counts, I guess. But none of these shows are the focus of today's episode. Instead, we're going to go all the way back in time to the far-off year of 1981, when the BBC tried to expand on their most popular franchise first time round, with questionable results. That's right, I'm talking about the most ridiculous Doctor Who spin-off that never was, K-9 and Company. What do you get when you combine the two most popular classic era TARDIS companions, Sarah Jane Smith and K-9, and put them in their own show together? The stinkiest chunk of cheese ever to come out of 1980s television broadcasting, which is really saying a lot. Now on paper, a sci-fi series about a plucky woman detective and a hyper-intelligent robot dog solving mysteries together might sound like the greatest thing ever. But on screen, the whole thing just looks silly. I'm sure most people are aware that not all of classic era Doctor Who has aged particularly well, but K-9 and Company really makes the most of the show's infamous embarrassments. Shoddy effects? Check. Stilted acting? Check. Lengthy exposition-laden scripts that really ought to cut out the talking and get straight to the main reason anyone would even watch this show, K-9 himself? Check. But maybe I'm being too harsh. After all, Doctor Who's gotten so much better in recent years. Mostly better anyway. And besides, what kind of internet reviewer would I be if I treated something as harmlessly cheesy as this with nothing but snide contempt and scornful bitchiness? A bloody good one who's doing their job, that's who. This is Poindexta, and this is K-9 and Company. Oh my god. Right off the bat, we've entered the 10th circle of hell. The one which represents stupidity. Grade F, what the fuck? Who even thought this show was a good idea? Just look at this intro, stupidity. Any attempt to make this look like a serious sci-fi show went out the door the moment you show the tin dog with the robotic voice in the background saying, expected a Disney animated Billy Joel dog to show up and start singing.
Why should I worry? Why should I
care? The title of this pilot episode is A Girl's Best Friend, which, shockingly enough, wasn't the scrapped slogan for Ann Summers. We begin this story about a robot dog from outer space with... Oh great, who taped Eyes Wide Shut over the last surviving copy of K-9 and Company? I can't believe it, this is the 10th planet all over again. What's that, Athena? My super smart reading companion and trusted owl friend? This actually is part of K-9 and Company? Okay. But if I wanted to watch a creepy 80s show about satanic ritual sacrifice, I'd go with the Hammer House of Horror episode Guardian of the Abyss, not this kids-friendly Doctor Who spin-off. We're briefly introduced to Sarah Jane's Aunt Lavinia, a scientist about to depart on a lecture tour in America, who's a little disappointed about being unable to reach her visiting niece over the phone to let her know that she's leaving right away and therefore won't be able to see her in time for Christmas.
That is typical of my niece. This was delivered to her so long ago I can't remember. I had to bring it with me when I came here.
Whatever's in it.
I have no idea.
When is she due here?
Oh, Friday week, the 18th.
And your nephew? Brendan?
Oh, he's my ward.
Breaks up soon, doesn't he?
Yes, next Friday.
Very interesting. But where's K-9? I want to see K-9. But don't worry, at least one iconic Doctor Who mainstay shows up. Former companion Sarah Jane Smith and her fantastically rustic fashion sense.
Miss Smith, I'm Tracy. George Tracy.
Oh, is my aunt not here?
She's in America.
But she wasn't due to go until after Christmas.
She went last Sunday week.
Oh, she wouldn't go without telling me.
Anyway, welcome to Morton Harwood. If you want anything, I'm in the cottage just past the market garden.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye, mister. You don't seem suspicious at all. That incidental music was supposed to be friendly, right? Sarah Jane heads inside the house on her own, where she discovers a large crate in the living room addressed directly to her. But before she can investigate further, she gets a phone call from Lavinia's young ward, Brendan.
Well, I've only just arrived. Look, it's a bit late now. I'll come for you tomorrow.
If you do, I'll be frozen solid.
Look, what's the idea?
I got fed up waiting.
Oh, you got fed up waiting.
I'd take a taxi, but I haven't got enough money.
Brendan is played by Ian Sears, and FYI, that uninterested delivery of his lines isn't a clever attempt on his part to realistically act like a bored teenager. He's just that bad of an actor.
When did she phone?
The day before we broke up. All she said was that I'd have to wait at school for a week until he picked me up. She's all right, isn't she?
How would I know? I've been abroad for the last fortnight.
Are you home for good now?
Here? Yes.
Good.
I'm glad you're staying here, Sarah Jane. I'm so happy. No, not the mind probe. Re-entering the house with Brendan in tow, Sarah Jane encounters Lavinia's business partner Bill Pollock and his rather territorial German shepherd.
No! Man's best friend must know his place.
Speaking of man's best friend, where's K-9?
Oh, how is the business?
Couldn't be worse. We've had 2 terrible years. If it doesn't pick up next year, we'll go bankrupt.
Brendan says it's all scientific these days.
Oh my God, I don't care about this business crap. I want to see the robot doggy.
Your aunt was quite happy to leave it to me.
Well, I'm a bit worried about her going off like this suddenly without a word. It's not like her.
She tried hard to reach you, I know that. I think she sent a wire.
Yeah, Sarah Jane's aunt has gone missing. She's worried about her disappearance so suddenly, yada, yada, yada. I was promised K-9 and company. K-9 first, company second. We're about a quarter way through this 15-minute special, and so far I haven't seen the title character once. What the hell? Sarah Jane then receives a phone call from her aunt's friend and neighbour, Juno Baker, who asks whether she'd like to come over to the lodge for a drink later.
That's most kind of you. Would you let me think it over?
Oh, of course, my dear. Don't feel pressed. Just come if you feel like it.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Baker. Goodbye.
Goodbye. She'll come.
Good.
Wowee! More suspicious acting villagers? How much you want to bet Sarah Jane's going to end up trapped inside a wicker man in the very last scene? After Bill heads off, Sarah Jane and Brendan finally noticed a big motherfucking crate in the middle of the living room and open it up. That has got to be the most primitive looking Aibo I've ever seen. You guys remember Aibos, right? Those little robot dogs made by Sony, and they'd bark a lot, and they'd walk around, and they'd have this little pink ball, and God, it's so frustrating being smarter than everyone.
Looks just like a dog, a metal dog.
Such astute observational skills you got there.
It's got ears, tail. It's a mechanical dog.
No shit, Sherlock. Now stop babbling on and let the real star of the show do the talking around here.
Hey, mistress, don't muck about.
It wasn't me.
I spoke.
Well, it's about time you showed up.
I am K-9 Mark III.
Oh, K-9.
Brendan, stop honking.
What the fuck is that noise coming out of Brendan's mouth? And why the fuck is that noise coming out of Brendan's mouth? How sheltered must his life at boarding school have been if a robot dog being named K-9 is the height of comedic gold to him? Makes you wonder what else he'd laugh at.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Hey, I know. I'll use my trusty frying pan as a drying pan.
I just start kissing them. It's like a magnet. You just kiss. I don't even wait.
My God, that kid's not even human.
Where are you from, K-9?
From the doctor.
From the doctor?
Affirmative.
Oh, you can't mean the doctor.
My precise meaning, mistress.
Oh, how is he, K-9? I may call you K-9.
It is my designation, mistress.
Oh, how is he?
The doctor last spoke in 1978 Earth years. He said, "Give Sarah Jane Smith my fondest love. Tell her I shall remember her always."
Don't take it so personally, Sarah Jane. You're not the only companion the Doctor's given K-9 as a leave-in present to. You're really not. But no time to focus on the fan service. Brendan's busy being a fucking nerd.
Nuclear battery.
Affirmative.
Self-charging.
Naturally.
And I bet he's got a holographic memory.
Affirmative.
Well, you see, there's this hunk of crystal, and it's so microscopic, they need a laser beam to scan it.
Brendan, stop mansplaining about how robots work to the woman who used to travel with the Doctor. It's a talking tin dog with a brain the size of a planet. It's not too complicated for her to get. Sarah Jane briefly explains to K-9 the situation of her aunt's disappearance and decides to head out and investigate further by talking to the woman who runs the local post office.
Did my aunt send me a telegram before she left? Through you, I mean.
She was never near me for well over a fortnight. Didn't even drop in to say goodbye. Not like her.
Thank you.
How about horticulture?
Well, what's with that cut there? We're not going to listen to any more of their conversation. We're just going to focus on K-9 and Brendan now. All right then.
Be back in a moment.
Stay. Good boy.
Brendan goes outside to collect a soil sample for K-9 to analyse, but little does he know that Tracy is watching him through the greenhouse window. I'd stare at him like that too, rummaging around in people's gardens in the middle of the night. Brendan's a very strange boy. Anyway, back to Sarah Jane and the woman from the post office again. Not sure why that scene had to be split in two, but say la vie.
Your auntie would write to the Standard, letters and that.
Yes?
Upset some people.
Did she? Why?
Wrote about witchcraft. Well, they're a bit sensitive about that round here. It's traditional, you see. A lot of people hereabouts still believe that the black art makes the crops grow.
Are you saying it's still going on?
Oh, no. All that stopped years and years ago.
You mean that weird ritual sacrifice we saw at the very beginning actually took place a long time ago? Well, either that scene was completely pointless, or this lady is full of horse shit. Now, you all know the latter's the correct answer, but to me, it'd be a lot funny if K-9 and company actually did decide to just randomly insert that scene to freak out the children watching this seemingly innocent show. Mostly because I'm a complete sadist. That evening, Sarah Jane talks to Juno Baker some more, having accepted her invitation, and once again she continues to be suspiciously cheerful.
How long have you known my aunt?
Since she moved here about 2 years, isn't it? We natives are usually rather reserved with foreigners, but I must say we took to her at once.
Wait a minute, reserved with foreigners? Oh my God, we're in Daily Mail Village! Mrs. Baker introduces Sarah Jane to Henry Tobias, the editor of the local newspaper, where I'm sure we'll discover some further information in order to solve this mystery.
You have 5 heuristic interfaces.
Or we could just pointlessly cut to the human Scrappy-Doo again.
You don't need updating from time to time from a piggyback board.
Affirmative. Affirmative.
Affirmative, affirmative?
To both questions, affirmative.
Ah.
Wow, just an R from Brendan this time? I'm surprised that such amusing comedic wordplay from K-9 didn't make him go. But all of a sudden, Tracy sneaks inside the house with an accomplice and they both make an attack for Brendan. Fortunately, K-9 comes to his rescue. K-9 just killed a man. Fired a laser at his back. Was this show written on crack? K-9, ooh. But alas, K-9 didn't didn't really commit cold-blooded murder, he just stunned the guy. This is Tracy's son Peter, who appears to be on the side of good as he tries to warn Brendan to escape the village right away. K-9, on the other hand, is too busy trolling the hell out of Tracy.
It was the goddess Hecate's familiar. A dog belching fire.
Yes, run back to your masters, you satanic spawn of Emmerdale. K-9 is your god now.
You led it here. Curse you, you led it here. What? The dog!
All joking aside, I'm honestly confused as to how Tracy would find K-9 even the slightest bit threatening. I get he's supposed to be this suspicious villager who still believes in hokey supernatural nonsense, but look at him! He's a robot doggy, not the Hound of the Baskervilles. Okay, he nearly killed your son, but that's only to be expected. Technically, he's from the future, and the robots are going to wipe out humanity one day, so why not accept your deadly fate now? At least you'll be killed by something adorable. When Sarah Jane arrives back home, Brendan tells her what happened to him.
What did he look like?
He was dark, about 20, he looked a bit like a gypsy.
Boy, howdy, racism! I knew there was a non-petty reason for hating Brendan. The next morning, Sarah Jane takes a look at the broken greenhouse while letting Bill know about Brendan's attack. Tracy also happens to be there because he's actually Lavinia's gardener, so naturally, more plain sight shadiness ensues.
pH of about 9, I'd say. Isn't that too alkaline?
Oh? What would you suggest? A few 100 kilos of ammonium sulfate. There's more to growing than science. I've got more work to do.
You've hurt George's feelings, I'm afraid. There's not much he doesn't know about care of the soil.
Jesus bloody Christ, there's so much talking in this special. Exposition this, minor character establishment that. Did the BBC really think that any wide-eyed child watching would give a shit? Nobody cares about Brendan or Peter or anyone else in this story. We just want to see K-9 being precociously awesome. Even by pilot episode standards, this is just so boring. It doesn't take someone as intelligent as me to figure out that the only reason anyone would even want to watch this hokey little show would be for the cute fact of the robot dog. The BBC had their one chance to create a spin-off for the biggest sci-fi programme on the box at the time, which, if not perfect, would have at least been quirky and fun and represented 80s outlandishness in the best possible way. And they blew it. Oh, what is it now, Athena? Athena, I am not being too negative. I'm an internet reviewer, and everybody knows that the purpose of an internet reviewer is to be angry all the time and complain about everything. Except for my last episode where I reviewed a guilty pleasure movie, but that's not the point. It's bad enough that I'm watching this nonsense in October, but I really ought to be reviewing a horror movie or something. But no! Class comes out, Poindexta. Pander to the zeitgeist, Poindexta. Maybe this time next year you'll be a YouTube celebrity and everyone will bow down at your feet like you deserve. Fine, I'll take a quick break. You happy, Athena? Athena is happy. Later that night, Brendan decides to go outside for a quick walk, only to get himself kidnapped in the most ridiculously easy way possible. Kidnapping 101. Just grab your victim when he's walking outside the door and pray to God that he doesn't scream for help. Then again, this is about as realistic a kidnapping as you'd expect from a show called K-9 and Company. Sarah Jane doesn't seem to notice, however, because she's too busy reading up on witchcraft. To be fair, witches are a lot cooler than Brendan. But in the morning, she suddenly realises that Brendan has gone missing and decides to go out and look for him.
I'm pretty sure I know who it was who attacked Brendan.
I'm Mr. Company. Miss.
It thinks it's people!
The duo make their way to Tracy's cottage following Sarah Jane's suspicions, but it turns out that there's nobody indoors. K-9 decides to stay behind to do some detective work of his own, leaving Sarah Jane to tell the local police about Brendan's disappearance.
What makes you think Peter Tracy is involved?
Oh, doesn't he fit Brendan's description?
This is a tricky one, Commander.
Yes, it's very tricky. Could that suspicious-looking religious nutjob of a gardener possibly be responsible for the kidnapping of a local boy? The world may never know.
Peter's also missing. His father came here last night.
Look, what's going on here? My aunt goes off mysteriously, then Brendan's attacked, then he disappears. Now, what is the matter with this place?
Now try not to worry, Miss Smith. We've put out a general alert.
I'm sorry, but several people now have gone missing, and these officers aren't even the slightest bit concerned. Are they part of the cult too? Why is everyone in this village so whimsically corrupt? But Sarah Jane remains undeterred and confides to Bill her belief that Tracy has been hiding something from her. They arrive back at the cottage, but it seems that he's still outside. And they wouldn't be wrong. Swiper, no swiping! Swiper, no swiping! Swiper, no swiping!
Oh, man!
Sarah Jane wonders out loud to herself where Brendan could be, and we immediately cut to his unconscious body lying in the middle of a dungeon. And then we cut to K-9 overhearing Tracy talking to the blatantly corrupt police officer who just so happened to be part of their coven. Jesus Christ! The editing in this special is about as choppy as Suicide Squad. This is the second review in a row in which I've made a Suicide Squad joke. God, I really need some new material.
There hasn't been a human sacrifice since 1891.
You're bound by your oath.
I'm a policeman.
These laws are higher. She sent her familiar to warn us. The white dog.
Really, man? You still think K-9 is Hecate's familiar? Do you honestly believe that this equals this? I tell you to burn in hell, but knowing your religious tendencies, that's probably your fetish. K-9 reports his findings back to Sarah Jane, and they immediately drive off in search of Brendan. A good idea, seeing how the local police force is not only corrupt, but they're also too easily startled.
Who's there? Is anyone there?
Ah! The moon! Ah! A goat! Ah! Sarah Jane tries telling Bill the truth about the villagers, but he seems a little doubtful.
The police, I mean, you've just told the police what you've told me.
Yes, well, I don't think they believed me.
Well, it's hardly surprising, is it? A police sergeant. A witch.
Doesn't sound surprising to me. Meanwhile, in Baby's first Hammer horror...
But you've been chosen.
No.
You will be initiated tonight.
No.
You just going to answer no to everything I say?
No.
And is it me, or is their ritual chanting a little hard to understand? Either that, or we've accidentally stumbled upon the cult of Mother Goose. Higgledy, piggledy, my black hen, she lays eggs for gentlemen. So after realising that no one in the village can be trusted, Sarah Jane decides to try talking to the bakers, despite them being the most suspicious ones of the whole lot.
There must be a rational explanation for all this.
Am I being irrational?
Black magic, witchcraft, it's very romantic, but this is 1981.
I know, right? Performing ritual sacrifice in the middle of the English countryside is so 1973. But because Sarah Jane can't exactly substantiate her claims without having to explain that she secretly owns a robot dog, all the bakers can do is tell her to go home and rest. And then we get one of the strangest mental images in the entire special. He's reading a book. K-9 is just reading a book. How does he turn the pages? Come to think of it, how did he open it up or get it down from the shelf in the first place? Okay, you can make the argument that Sarah Jane was the one who put the book there, but I still find it kind of amusing that a super intelligent robot like him would still need to check an old-fashioned book just to be on the safe side. See what I mean? K-9 is absolutely wonderful. And yet this special completely wastes his appearances by just having him be the talking exposition machine while Sarah Jane does all the heavy work.
Data witchcraft in England assimilated. Primitive traditional belief in rural areas, cosmic forces control weather to secure crops. Most important ceremony falls on winter solstice, December 22nd.
That's tomorrow.
Witches' power increased by hallowed ground.
Churches.
Affirmative.
Right, we'll go now. We've got until tomorrow night.
Negative, mistress. December 22nd begins after midnight tonight.
I can't believe K-9 worked out the most obvious thing in the world, that a ceremony which takes place on tomorrow's date at midnight would also technically be happening a few hours from now. And Sarah Jane calls herself a journalist. The pair hurry off in search of the church where the sacrifice has been held, but it seems that everyone in the village is out to get them.
Could someone be trying to kill me, K-9?
A possibility, mistress.
Wow, neither of them seem to give a fuck about surviving a near-death experience. They have a hard time looking for the exact location of the church, but soon realise that there was an abandoned chapel on Lavinia's property all this time. And they only worked out this incredibly obvious clue a few minutes before midnight. Well, you can call off the search now, Miss Smith. Because you failed at basic deduction skills, Brenton is dead. And nothing of value was lost. But before he can become roasted alive, Brendan gets dragged out of his cell and is forced to wear Marilyn Monroe's dress at a ceremony. And he still died pretty. Whenever I think of a Doctor Who spin-off fit for the kiddies, starring a talking robot dog, you know what the first thing that pops to my head is? Black magic and ritual murder. The fact that I'm reviewing this before Halloween makes it all the more fitting, don't you agree? Of course, this being a family show, more or less, K-9 and Sarah Jane arrive at the chapel just in time and manage to save the day. Foolish mortals, where is your goddess now? K-9 has come to reap the sinners and punish those who believe in false deities. All hail K-9!
Put that in your leader, Mr. Tobias.
Did Sarah Jane just kick that guy in the crotch? Jeez, that is way too inappropriate for a children's show about human sacrifices. Sarah Jane manages to free Brenton, and we find out that the true masterminds behind his scheme were, in fact, that lady from the post office who only appeared in one scene, and Bill? Wait, what? No, that's not how it's supposed to go. I thought the Bakers were the ones who were secretly evil, not them. I mean, it made perfect sense. They acted so friendly towards Sarah Jane that it bordered on suspiciousness. But no, they really were nice people all this time. It turns out they were only looking out for her. I'm so confused. I'm supposed to be smarter than everyone. How come I wasn't able to figure out this special's genuinely surprising plot twist? No. It can't be my fault, it must be its fault, I'm sure of it! I mean, one of the first scenes involved Juno and Lavinia talking to each other before the latter went off to America, and it was perfectly established that not only was their relationship friendly, but Sarah Jane had no reason to be suspicious of her aunt disappearing because of a communication problem. And then again, if it wasn't for her paranoia, then she would have found out about the cult, and there'd be no mystery to solve to begin with. I suppose what I'm trying to say is that nothing in this special matters. We're all going to die one day, and at least this plot twist was still better than the ones written by Stephen Moffat. And so our story ends with Sarah Jane celebrating Christmas with Brenton and the Bakers, while getting a phone call from Aunt Lavinia.
I didn't know where you were.
But I asked Bill Pollock to cable you at your flat.
Oh, well, that explains that.
But, I tried to ring Bill Pollock and there's no reply. I hope everything's all right.
Well, I'll explain everything when you get back.
Nothing serious, just that you were right all this time about there being a secret underground society of witchcraft in the village, and your business partner was a member of it. Happy holidays, Auntie! Speaking of happy holidays, let's wrap this crazy mumbo-jumbo up with the most adorably festive thing ever.
You wish we a merry... No, recheck. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Aww, it's still October, damn it! That was K-9 and Company, and that was a ridiculous, underwhelming piece of garbage. But what else did you expect from a Doctor Who spin-off about K-9? This was the pilot episode for a proposed TV series about a talking robot dog, so of course it was going to be completely insane and make no sense whatsoever. But this entire special is still weak on so many levels. The pacing is slow, the effects and costumes are shoddy, and the scene transitions are distractingly awkward. Every actor who isn't Elizabeth Slater delivers their lines woodily, and the story is clogged up with too much focus on the mystery element and boring human characters when most children watch this just want to see more of K-9. No wonder this show was never commissioned a full series. The title was a complete lie. Although both Sarah Jane Smith and K-9 would make several much better reappearances in the Doctor Who universe a few decades later, K-9 and company still at least deserve some points for creativity, even if the overall concept was executed poorly. Is this special so bad it's unwatchable, or was it simply just a quirky product of its time? What do you think, K-9?
To both questions, affirmative.
And on that note, I think I'm going to follow Athena's advice and take a quick break from being the world's greatest reviewer. After all, if K-9 was supposed to be a girl's best friend, then you just might be a girl's best lifesaver. This is Poindexta, and this is the end of the review. Great, hold on. Hello? Grey, go.